Good morning and welcome to the news at 7. I am David Obawasile. The headlines. APGA targets more victories in 2019 general elections. Flood submerges Ozuzu Camp, Ibariam. NDLEA arrests over 100 drug traffickers in Edo State. On the foreign scene, Madrid court acquits former doctor on charges of stealing newborn babies. The special advisor to the governor on political matters, Chief Ifeatu Obiokwe, says the All Progressive Grand Alliance, APGA, will win more positions in the 2019 general elections. Chief Obiokwe, who stated this while exchanging views with newsmen at the government house, Oka, said APGA will remain the dominant political party in the state for a long time to come. He explained that APGA has over the years given good governance to the Anambra and has remained strongly rooted. The governor's political advisor recalled that certain politicians from the state in some political parties are linked to the socio-economic and political crisis and instability which bedeviled Anambra State between 1999 and 2006, pointing out that this explains why APGA is loved by most people, especially in the South-East geopolitical zone. Chief Obiokwe, who is the immediate past National Publicity Secretary of APGA, enthused that the party victory in future elections would be anchored on its people-oriented manifesto and the impressive delivery of democracy dividends in Anambra State in the past 12 years and 6 months. The special advisor on political matters equally observed that the fielding of a presidential candidate by APGA in the person of retired Major General John Ball from northern Nigeria would go a long way to enhance the electoral fortunes of the party in forthcoming general polls in the country. Residents of Ozuzu Camp at Ibariam, Anambra East Council area are counting their losses as the area has been submerged by flood for the past 1 month. They made this known while conducting newsmen around this community. Ngozi Obleri has details.
Conducting newsmen around the camp, the chairman of the camp, Mr. Anthony Okafor, said their area has been underwater since last month, leaving them hungry and homeless. He called on government and public-spirited individuals to come to their aid and assist them to survive. Also speaking, Mrs. Akalambako, who regretted that she borrowed money from bank for the cultivation of her farm, said she cannot boast of food to sustain her family and has no means of refunding the bank loan. The secretary of the camp, Mr. Akuba, called on and SEMA to save them from hunger and starvation by helping them financially and providing them with farm inputs to enable them return to farm next season. In their separate reactions, Messrs. Ikechukwu Ogogo and Nwebube Ogogo, while appreciating the state government for assisting those affected by flood through SEMA, pleaded for government's attention to the camp, which has been under water for almost 1 month now.
That Ngozi Obileri's report was taken from our studios. We move on now. Ministers of God have been urged to uphold dedication and diligence in their service to God and humanity. The Anglican Bishop of Nnewi Diocese and Archbishop Province of the Niger, Most Reverend Godwin Okpala, gave the charge in a sermon at St. Mark's Anglican Church, Nnewichi, during a Thanksgiving service at the church. Correspondent Emmanuel Okonkwo was there and now reports.
The service, which was to thank God for keeping and sustaining Venerable Godwin Agba, who recently retired from pastoral service in the diocese, and his family throughout his service years, attracted people from all walks of life who came to celebrate with him. Most Reverend Okpala, who described Venerable Agba as a true minister of God, who distinguished himself in God's work before attaining the statutory age of retirement in Anglican Communion, advised Christians to always work to please God, not man, to be divinely rewarded. In a remark, the retired priest, Venerable Agba, said that it was grace of God that saw him through and thanked God and the church for supporting him throughout his service years.
It's only by grace of God, nothing else. God has been very gracious to me. And the Bible says, those whom God wants to have mercy for, He has mercy. Whether you are good or bad, He will keep you going. So God has been very merciful, and the people have been very, very, very endearing. People come to me, they see me as their brother or their father, and so on. So I enjoy them.
On her part, the wife of the priest, Mrs. Comfort Agba, appreciated God for giving them the grace to retire in good health after many years of service to God and humanity, and prayed for God's blessings and protection on people that graced the occasion.
From China retirement in good health or without dents. Even Ejiro complete health, but in his own, despite the challenges, God was there for him.
Also speaking, a priest in the diocese, Reverend Canon Timothy Agbanose, observed that Venerable Agba is what a minister of God should be, as he served meritoriously in God's vineyard during his service years. The service featured thanksgiving, prayers for Agba's family by the bishop, as well as special renditions by the choir. Venerable Agba, though retired, is still the Nnewi Assistant Administrative Secretary, Director of Communication and Ecumenism from St. Mark's Anglican Church, Nnewi. I am Emmanuel Okonkwo, reporting for ABS News.
The culture of Isiaga community in Oka South local government area recently came to the fore as members of the community celebrated their 2018 New Yam Festival with pomp and pageantry. The event, held at the palace of the traditional ruler of Isiago, Igwe Augustine Nwankwo, attracted prominent personalities, government functionaries, traditional rulers, captains of industries from the state and beyond, heads of ministries and agencies, as well as sons and daughters of Isiago community who came in various traditional attires to celebrate their culture. Details from our studio.
The New Yam Festival of Isiago community commenced with the traditional breaking of the kola nut by the royal father of Isiago, Igwe Augustine Nwankwo, who subsequently performed the traditional cutting of the new yam, which marks the commencement of the general eating of the new yam by all members of Isiago community. In his speech, Igwe Nwankwo stated that yam, as one of the major cash crops cultivated in the community, is especially revered because it does not only sustain them, but yields huge proceeds to the farmers. Hence, its celebration as the king of all crops. The Isiago monarch noted that the celebration is also a time to thank God for a bumper harvest and called on his subjects to seize the period of celebration to embrace peace and good neighborliness, as no society can progress in an atmosphere of rancor and bitterness. Governor Willie Obiano, represented by the SSA on chieftaincy matters, Barrister Vera Okonkwo, congratulated Igwe Augustine Nwankwo for celebrating the New Yam Festival as expected in Igbo culture and tradition, pointing out that Isiago community is one of the communities that supported the governor's second-term bid and has always keyed into the agricultural pillar of the state government. The traditional ruler of Nibo, Igwe Michael Ongene, who spoke on behalf of Okasa Local Government Area Traditional Rulers Council, commended the people of Isiago for rallying round their royal father to move their community forward.
Government in action, wherever that is here. Now we're Anambra State, in particular, of the South local government. I'm here.
Some dignitaries at the occasion, including the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of ABS, Nze Uche Nwora, and the Managing Director of Anambra Housing Corporation, Professor Uche Asike, represented by the Director of Estate Services, Mr. Anthony Nwafo, extolled Igwe Nwankwo for promoting and preserving the culture of Isiago and urged him not to relent in providing an enabling environment for Isiago to move forward. Others who spoke at the occasion include the President General of Isiago Community Union, ICU, Mr. Luis Okeke, and the ICU Women's Wing Chairwoman, Mrs. Grace Okolo, the Chairman of Isiago Cabinet Chiefs, Chief Sunday Ozumba, the Palace Secretary, Barrister Ben Nwankwo, and the Palace Public Relations Officer, Honorable Willie Okoli, who felicitated with Igwe Isiago and the entire community for gathering together to celebrate their ancient culture. Masquerade display, cultural performance by the women, agricultural exhibition, and the conferment of chieftaincy titles to deserving sons of Isiago, Chief Innocent Nchezo as Ikenga Isiago, and Chief Martin Nwajago as Abalanze Isiago, represented by Barrister Ben Nwankwo, featured at the ceremony, while royal dance round the arena by Igwe Nwankwo, accompanied by Igwe Zike of Nibo, amidst cheers from the audience, added a royal ambience to the occasion. From Isiago in Okasa local government area, Njide Ezonyejak reporting for ABS News.
The Edo Command of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency says it has arrested 103 suspects for trafficking illicit drugs. Mr. Peter Oga, head of operations and intelligence in the command, made a disclosure in an interview with newsmen in Benin. NDLEA operative Oga said the suspects, comprised of 8 males and 15 females, were arrested between July and September in various parts of the state. He explained that more than 4,000 kilograms of suspected Indian hemp was seized within the period, while 14 farmlands of about 10 hectares cultivated with the plant were destroyed. Oga, however, said that the command had rehabilitated 79 drug addicts who had reunited with their families, while 2 are still undergoing intensive rehabilitation. The assistant commander disclosed that the NDLEA had filed 18 cases in courts within the period, while several others are still pending. Oil prices has dropped to around $83 a barrel, pressured by expectations that some Iranian oil exports will keep flowing after the U.S. reimposes sanctions, easing a strain on supplies. Oil 2 companies in India, a big buyer of Iranian oil, have ordered barrels in November, according to India's oil minister. The Trump administration is considering waivers on sanctions, a U.S. government official has said. U.S. sanctions will target Iran's crude oil export from November 4, and Washington has been putting pressure on government and companies worldwide to cut their imports to zero. Oil also dropped as investors focused on rising output from other producers, such as top exporter Saudi Arabia, to compensate for lower Iranian supplies. Saudi Arabia said last week it plans to raise production in November from October output of 10.7 million barrels per day, indicating Riyadh will be boosting its supply to the highest ever level. Facebook has launched a range of all-powered video calling devices, a strategic revolution for the social network giant, which is aiming for a slice of the smart speakers market that is currently dominated by Amazon and Google. The device, which will be available for pre-order in the United States from yesterday, is designed to allow users to make video calls at home without having to stand immediately in front of the screen or hold a phone at arm's length. Although the social media giant acquired visual reality headset manufacturer Oculus in 2014, this is the first time it has developed a consumer hardware product in-house. A Madrid court has acquitted a former doctor of stealing newborn babies from their mothers and supplying them to infertile couples. The court found gynecologist Eduardo Vela, 85, had committed the crimes, but charges were dropped because too much time had elapsed. He is the first person to go on trial for illegal adoptions that took place during and after the fascist dictatorship of General Franco. The Vela case focused on Ines Madrigal, allegedly abducted in 1969. After Franco's triumph in Spain between 1936 and 1939 Civil War, many children were removed from families identified by the fascist regime as Republicans and given to families considered more deserving. The most serious abduction charge was brought against Vela by Mrs. Madrigal in April 2012. But because she failed to bring the case for 25 years after she first became an adult in 1987, the case fell foul of the statute of limitations, which is 10 years. She was in court for the first verdict, but Vela was absent. Prosecutors had sought an 11-year jail term for Vela. The Spanish Supreme Court can still appeal against the verdict. The Madrid Provincial Court found he had committed 3 crimes: abduction, fraud over pregnancy, and forgery of documents. And we move over to the sports field now, where President of the Nigerian Football Federation, NFF, Amaju Pinnick, has donated 2.5 million naira to assist Nigeria's amputee football team participate in the Amputees Football World Cup scheduled to kick off in Mexico on October 24 through November. The money is for the team's preparations and travel expenses, and a further $5,000 contribution for the upkeep of the players during the competition. Pinnick, who was presented the team jersey, shared some moments with the players. He said the gesture was to show that football is one family in which the physically challenged are integral parts. The Nigerian amputee team recently launched a public appeal for funding support to foot their bill to the World Cup, following non-response to their request for sponsorship from the Federal Ministry of Sports and Corporate Nigeria. They had failed to attend 3 previous editions of the World Cup, to which they qualified for lack of funds, and may possibly be suspended from the global competition for long years should they fail to attend for the 4th time. The Nigerian amputee team requires about 40 million naira to provide for flight tickets, pre-competition camping, procurement of standard amputee sports equipment, upkeep and other logistics for the delegation of 15 players and 5 officials. Nigeria, Ghana, Angola, Kenya and Liberia are representing Africa in the 24 countries competition. While the Nigerian team is still searching for funds and yet to go into camping, their Ghanaian counterparts have been on training tour of the UK, where they played the Arsenal FC amputee squad last Sunday. Remember that you can follow news and programs on ABS from any part of the world by logging on to our website, www.absradiotv.com. Like us at www.facebook.com/absradiotv. Follow us on Twitter on @ABSRadioTV. Before we go the main points again, APGA is targeting more victories in 2019 general elections. Flood has submerged Ozuzu camp at Ebariam. NDLA has arrested over 100 drug traffickers in Edo State. On the foreign scene, Madrid court has acquitted former doctor on charges of stealing newborn babies. On behalf of the team here, I am David Obukwasale. Good morning, Anambra continues after now.